Hey, this is Smudges. I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm here to show you how to get everything in the game for free by stealing it. So, let's get started. So we'll start off with the equipment. We've got Mask of the Shapeshifter, but this can be any way to get disguised, and that's just here to enable the Shapeshifter's Boon Ring, which gives you plus 1d4 on all checks. You can get this at Last Light In, early in Act 2, or you can get this using a trick in Act 1, right as you enter the Druid's Grove, so very early. And yeah, plus 1d4 on all checks is extremely good. Next, we're using the Cloak of the Cunning Broom, also available in Act 2 at the Last Light In, and it creates a foggy cloud when you disengage. We use this to block line of sight and make us heavily obscured so that we can hide better. The way that like the clouds and darkness and heavily obscured works is pretty weird, but basically dark sight, we want like as much stealth as possible so we can hide in plain sight, and blocking line of sight and making us heavily obscured all helps with that. Plus 3 to stealth bonus from Penumbral Armor is basically the biggest like plus bonus to stealth checks you can get. Like plus 3 is giant, although it does come later than and competes with, for a majority of the game, the Graceful Cloth, which increases your dexterity score by 2 up to 20, which is basically always better. Like in combat it's certainly more useful, and it's almost as good, and you get this earlier, and yeah, like until you're like have enough levels where you can like bump your dexterity up to 20 using an ASI, like this Graceful Cloth is just better, and it gives you Cat's Grace, which gives you advantage on dexterity checks. If you don't have a different way of getting advantage on your sleight of hand or dexterity, then this is like this is best in slot. It's really good. But once you reach later in the game, you can forego it. Gloves of Power, you get this. This is literally the first, like, you fight the goblins outside the Druid Grove. You get these plus 1 sleight of hand. Good. Smuggler's Ring, plus 2 sleight of hand, plus 2 stealth. It's great. You can get this extremely early in Act 1 if you rush for it. Otherwise, you don't even have to rush. It's just like kind of near where you find under the bridge, near Karlach, like near that first Knoll fight. Very early, you can get that. And Silver Pendant, we're just using this to give ourselves guidance. I'm like disconnected from my party members. They're like totally nowhere near me. Guidance is just to be independent so I can cast this on myself. And boots don't really matter. You can use any kind of boots. People like boots of speed or any kind of like boots that give you more mobility so you can disengage, but I don't find it necessary. So and then for the build, you can use a hireling. I'm not using a hireling because I think that's kind of just not in the spirit. I am using a Starion because I recruited him and I haven't been using him. He's been sitting in camp all game. And so I just decided we'll just level him up like as the thief. So I put 12 levels into rogue, thief rogue, and basically anytime it asks you to pick a proficiency or a expertise, you just pick sleight of hand if possible, and you pick stealth if possible. These are the only 2 things that matter. Yeah, those are the only 2 things that matter. We have plus 16. That's enormous. And yep, you can just put ASIs into dexterity. You just want to hit 20 dexterity. You can get away with getting to 18 and using Graceful Cloth all game to bump you up to 20. That's also viable. But there's really not like another, if you're me, if you're not like using this as a combat character, if you're not using them in the party actively, then like by the time you hit level 12, like I have a feat, I just have nothing to spend it on. I got lucky, and we'll talk about that. That's not the same. I'll talk about it in a second. Yeah, I'm using a Starion because he has this ability, the Vampire Drain, where like I have Shadowheart sitting in camp. I'm not using her. Starion can just drain her, and he can get a free plus 1 on all ability checks. So that's just another plus 1. That's fantastic. That's free. The only other, if you're doing this with a custom character, you can do this with a halfling, because they get not lucky. Lucky is different, but they get halfling luck, which allows them to re-roll critical ones or critical failures when you roll a natural 1, which is basically the only way this class can ever get caught. Yeah. The other thing of note, Graceful Cloth, one of the reasons this is best in slot over Penumbral Armor is because you get Cat's Grace, which gives you advantage on dexterity. I mentioned that's important to have. Gloves of Power, I didn't get it in this playthrough, that's why I almost forgot. But there, in Act 1, there's these Gloves of Thievery, which gives you advantage on your sleight of hand, which is much better than a +1. So yeah, I would use that. But if you have another way of getting it, then getting this +1 is just free. So in the late game, I would use Resonance Stone, which gives everybody this Steeped in Bliss condition. This just gives you advantage on all physical checks, including dexterity ones. So you can so when you have Resonance Stone, or if you have someone else in your party cast Enhance Ability, Cat's Grace on you, that's also a possibility. You can use all of the sleight of hand and stealth checks at the same time to get like the maximum bonus. So that's the build basically, and here we go. Let's just steal from Roland. So you just want to stand just a little bit farther away outside of this guidance range. So actually, wait, let me disguise first, like so. And then you'll see we have Mark of the Shifter active, and we can guidance ourselves, and we guidance ourselves just out of range. So there we go. I was a little bit close, see he moved, so we'll sneak, and we'll click time stop. And it's a little hard to see, but you can see my arrow is still, or my movement trail is still yellow, and my cursor says fog, and we're heavily obscured. I just want to move as close to Roland as possible while remaining in the fog. And I think that's the dark side activating, but it doesn't matter. We're still obscured and we can just steal. So let's take his money. Let's get Globes of Invulnerability so we can win the game. Let's get some Disguise Scrolls so we can steal more. Let's get some damage stuff. Let's get some CC. Let's get these. I mean, why not? Well, why not? We'll take these. Sunbeam. Okay. Dominate Person. Cloud Kill. Circle of Death. Chain Lightning. Planar Binding. Odalukes. Eye Bite. Cone of Cold. Telekinesis. Oh, I didn't steal that one properly. Okay, there we go. Oh, Conjure Elemental. That one's actually good. And I think that's everything of value, so we'll just go like this. And then this is when we would disengage, but actually we're still inside of a fog cloud, so I can just exit turn-based, and I can go back to camp. And I can unsneak, and I'm not gonna end my disguise, but I'll disguise as a different person, because, you know, why not? And I'll, like, send all of these to my main person, and we'll leave the camp. And, hey, Roland.
You. What do you want?
Everything good?
You. What do you want?
Seems like it. Nice. Alright, I guess that's everything. Thanks for watching.